Okay, we've got another very long distance caller from the Czech Republic. It's Ned. Hello?
Hi there. How are you?
We're well, thank
Fine.
you. Thank you for calling.
Thank you. I'm calling to state and defend a position on a social issue. See, I'm an atheist. I'm also a social activist.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Canada, but I work in Prague.
Oh, okay.
I envy you.
What line of work are you in?
I do two things. I teach English, and I have a little immigration service. I help people get visas in the Czech Republic.
Oh,
Okay.
that's really interesting.
All right. Okay, then.
So, I have made it my calling to work toward making the world a better place. I'm an activist, you might say, and my pet cause is children's rights.
Right.
And I would like to express an opinion which is highly unorthodox. It could make a lot of people angry. That could also have been said of atheism, right? So you're atheists. Hopefully you can keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to talk about freedom of religion as it regards children and youth, okay? I think that young people should have significantly more legal rights than they do today, mainly more rights to make their own decisions rather than their parents or other adults making those decisions for them. I'm not going to talk about my whole theory, the extent to which they should have more rights to make their own decisions. That's highly debatable. I'll just say one thing. I think that one thing in which children should have completely their own right to make their own decisions is that they shouldn't be forced to adhere to any religious practices that their parents want them to against their will. And if they themselves have certain religious beliefs, their parents shouldn't be able to punish them for adhering to those religious beliefs.
I see some practical problems with this proposal.
You're the dad, so yeah.
I mean, do you have any kids? Just curious.
I don't.
Okay.
Sure. But if I did,
I'm just wondering where we get the resources to micromanage all these people's homes, and on whose criteria do we decide what parents can and can't teach their kids that they sincerely believe?
I didn't say they can't teach their children religion. I'm just saying they shouldn't be able to force their children to practice the religion that they want to impart to them.
So
that's what I'm saying.
kids shouldn't have to go to church if the parents say so?
Or
Right.
you can't.
They shouldn't.
The child should have the right to say, no, I do not wish to attend this church with you.
Is there an age cutoff for this? I mean, can parents bring their 2-year-old to church?
Okay, well, let's put it this way. We can deal with practical problems as we go along and try to solve the issue.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the practical problems are not just something that has to be an afterthought here. This entire idea is a practical problem. You're saying parents should not be allowed to do something specific with their kids, and I mean that is a huge can of worms.
I'm not saying it's an afterthought. I'm saying that we can work out the details once we actually sit down and try to, enforce these ideas, right?
Well, let me put it this way. Until we work out the details, I am against your plan.
Yeah,
so I think let's work out the details.
Because until you work out the details, you don't actually have, a process or a kind of a legal principle that you can enforce. And it does, it's tricky. It comes down to, let's get the obvious ones out of the way. There's certain degrees of abuse. Let's talk
there
about that.
are child protective services in most developed countries. So, outright abuse is already taken care of.
Yeah, so it would depend upon, I get this notion, and this is, getting back to Dawkins' idea of, you wouldn't say there's no such thing as a Republican child or a Democratic child or a Labor child or a Tory child or anything like this. So you shouldn't immediately tag, a child should not have their parents' religion immediately imposed upon them simply because they're the parents. I can see that as an ethical principle that I can get behind, but if you were to try to turn it into, as Russell said, the details would really have to be worked out if you wanted to make it like a specific human rights cause to pursue.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just, I have some ideas how that could be done. For example, okay, first of all, obviously you'd have to start with the rules. You'd have to lay down the law and say what is and isn't allowed. Then, of course, there would have to be some kind of enforcing mechanism. Now, if you don't mind, I would rather state my reasons now why I would justify my opinion. Would you allow me to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
don't take too long.
Yeah, but we only have a few minutes in the show. We want to get at least one more caller in. So if you can sum it up and give us the...
I'll try to be quick. Okay, first of all, society teaches us to see parents as almost untouchable sacred cows. Religion is partly to blame for this. The commandment to honor your parents, which fosters this authoritarian notion of the parent-child relationship rather than one of mutual respect. But, children are not chattel. They're not subhuman. They're people. They also have wishes, needs, emotions. So having...
Yeah, but I mean, I would also say that children, up to a certain age don't have fully developed brains and need some sort of guidance to keep them from, let's say, playing in traffic or eating candy for every meal.
Yeah. I agree with that. I said I'm only talking about this freedom of religion issue. So religion is one of the last things that should be imposed on a child because it's not objective. See, you mentioned an objective thing, right? There's an objective standard. If you play in traffic, you can get seriously injured, get killed. Or simple example, if you don't brush your teeth, you're going to have problems with your hygiene, with cavities, with your health, right? Those are objective standards. Religion is not objective. Maybe that's one reason why we have freedom of religion in the first place.
Let me ask you about a specific case. When my son was a little kid, I took him to Atheist Community of Austin meetings all the time. Should I have refrained from bringing him to these organizations on the grounds that they are expressing opinions about religion?
No.
No? So atheist groups get special privileges then?
No. I'm not talking about your opinion. I'm not talking about your chance to impart your opinions on their child. I'm just talking about your power. Okay.
So could I take my kid to church, though?
One more time, please.
Could I take my kid to church?
Okay, you can take him there, but if he refuses to participate in what is being done there, you should not at any age be able to coerce him into doing so. That's what I think. And the same regards atheism. So if your child wants to practice a religion and you're an atheist, you should have to allow him to do it, unless, of course, he does something that harms other people's rights. Like, I don't know.
Does that mean that I, as a parent, should be forced to take him to the church of his choice because he made a decision at age 5, let's say?
That's a good practical question, and here's what I'll say. Not necessarily, but if he can find some way of getting there himself, you shouldn't be able to stop him. Yes.
Kids can't get places themselves.
Yeah, I think
that's part of the thing about being a kid.
Yeah, there is a the whole, and I speak as someone who is not a parent myself, but I've been a kid with parents. There is a certain degree. Okay, I remember this from being a kid. A lot of things my parents made me do that I didn't like. Now, decades later, I can look back on that and say they did indeed, make the right choice for me. I was too young and immature to understand it, but they were coming from a perspective. Now, this is not to say that this would apply in all cases. Sure, if there were like there's some sort of religious indoctrination or something, ghastly and abusive involved, right? But getting back to the point that you made, there already, I think, and there have been laws that there are laws that are in place that are whittling away at this presumptive, omnipotence and perfection of parents. As people who always make the right choice.
Not nearly enough.
Well, I mean, we do have, for instance, we have, there are parents who have gone to prison because they believed in faith healing and therefore refused to take their sick child to a doctor and resulting in the child's death or even, or just worse illness, but mostly death. And so that wasn't a case of the law saying, well, they were the parents and they got to make the choice. That was certainly something. There's now, I think, just been this situation. This isn't necessarily religiously involved, but I tend to find that it's the people who believe in this sort of woo and anti-science are very similar in the way they think. The state of California has basically said, look, sorry, you can't do this parental exemption from vaccines, right? Because this is a basic public health issue. And so, as a parent, you don't have that right to endanger your child's health and community health by refusing life-saving vaccines.
But those are still pretty limited cases. Generally, by and large, if you, let's say, even force your, 16 or 17-year-old to practice your religion, nobody will really do anything about it. It's just not enough. Look, let me leave you with a little bit of a kind of a premise. You said, looking back, a lot of the choices...
Okay, but you're going to need to wrap it up, though.
Yeah, because we're running out of time.
Okay, can I maybe call back some other time?
Sure.
That would be fine, yes.
Yeah.
By all means.
All right.
But thanks for calling,
All right.
though. Thanks.
Bye, Ned.
Thank you. Take care for now.
No problem. Appreciate it.